Next, when looking at climate, one has to remember that solar radiation drives cycles in Earth's atmosphere, and some of these cycles determine weather and climate. So, latitude determines the basic tropical, temperate, and polar climatic zones. Climate zones are determined by intensity of incoming solar radiation, which is determined by the angle of incidence, and the number of daylight hours caused by tilt of Earth's rotation axis. So since Finland and Russia are located near the polar climate zone, that means that a maximum amount of radiation is received during one part of the year and none during another part. So there's constant daylight for part of the summer and constant darkness for part of the winter, which is demonstrated in the Winter War when the Soviets faced only 4 hours of daylight with negative 30 degree Fahrenheit temperatures along with blizzard conditions during the winter when they were trying to fight a war, which seriously complicated their ability to successfully find the Finns and fight the war. Another characteristic of a polar climate zone is that the overall temperatures are low with the highest range of annual temperatures. Additionally, it's important to remember that a climate zone isn't the only thing that affects a region's climate, because there's also altitude, mountains, large bodies of water, and ocean currents. So even though Finland and Russia are both near the polar climate zone, there's variation in the weather and climate they experience because they have different altitudes, different parts have certain mountains which cause certain climate or weather, and they're both located near different types of water, which seriously affects their temperature. So even though the Russians had an idea of the type of weather that Finland had, they weren't prepared exactly for what it had because of the regional differences. Next, we have to look at what climate change is. So climate change is a departure from the expected average pattern of climate over a region over time. So the Earth periodically undergoes periods of cooling and warming. The cold winter of 1939, for example, was part of a larger cooling of the Earth from about 1940 until the 1970s, which is also demonstrated in the fact that when Russia and Germany were fighting during World War II, there was also an extremely cold winter, which allowed the Russians to be successful in their fight against Germany because of the lessons they had learned from the cold winter as part of the larger cooling period from the Finns. Climate change is brought on by a complex interaction of a number of factors, which include the amount of sunspots on the sun at any given time, because those affect the sun's energy or heat output, changes in the orientation of Earth's tilt, orbital shape, and axis wobble, and atmospheric pressures, including greenhouse gases. So weather and climate are really complex issues, and they interact with the region and determine the region's landscape, which determines people's lifestyles and determines major historical events, such as the Winter War of 1939, which we've seen here.